Gonna be an odd video today. Tell you what we did. We are doing some unusual testing on saws. Just unusual. What we're testing is we're actually testing mufflers as much as saws and how relationship to what different builds do on a frequency range. Minorly, we're checking decibels, just as a comparison, not as an actual true what is the decibel. Because Colin got an app on his phone that we're playing with. We're probably screwing this up, but we don't know how accurate it is. But it's at least something, you know.
Good for comparison. Anyway.
It's a comparison. This is what it is. Explain to them what this is going to be doing.
Okay, so right now, that red line represents the highest decibel at any given frequency. And you can see I'm talking, that little white thing's moving around there. You see that? And that's the real-time peak at the frequency, that little thing that's moving around right there, okay? So as the saw is idling, it'll be down here somewhere, and when he ramps it up, you'll see that thing flicker over this way. And I'm going to move my little line over to match where I seen that go, and then that'll be our comparison. So when it jumps from here to there, I'll know how high, what high frequency we're getting or not.
Okay, so what we did is we got 3 saws. I'll show it to you first. I have got my level. This is that Chinese saw. We put all the good crank, bearings, seals, everything in. We got this one. This, obviously 372. It's got a white skull piston in it. And big bore, a 52 millimeter bore. This was my test saw until I decided right the way it is. I really like it. It is a stock muffler with just a single tube. Pretty much a good example of more of a steel design muffler, which seems to work quite well on these. I put the tube forward or sideways or whatever. This just happens to be a muffler that came in on a junk saw, so we don't know how good it actually works, but it's there. Okay. And then I got Kyle Davidson's. This is a 372 with one of Josh's pipes. And it has got 50 millimeter bore, Molly cylinder, Molly piston. It's got the single ring 371 OEM piston in this one. So that's kind of a neat one. Okay, now here's the one you've been waiting for, I think. Junkyard Dog.
Also known as Fat John, for me anyway.
Yeah, Colin's calling it Fat John because the next favorite is Husky John, because that's both Husky and John's Red. Well, Colin brought up a good point. Husky is a polite word for fat. So he calls it Fat John.
Get right to the point.
Get right to the point. Okay, this is the same design as this. Other than this has got a longer tube, this is a shorter tube. We're hiding one in a stock muffler. You guys remember that from last fall. I decided to bolt it on there. It's kind of a neat little deal there. I ought to finish that up. What we're going to do is start these up one at a time, and we're just going to see where they're at. Now, Kyle's saw is a nice logging saw. This is a particularly good build for logging. It's nice and spicy. This one here, you be your own judge. I did run it. I'm not scared of it. It's just I don't. Well, you know, it's different.
You'll see.
Yeah. And then this Farmer Tech that we did all the good stuff to, went big bore, 52 millimeter, is a logging saw, a different build. Lower numbers than Kyle's, but we made it up with a big bore. That's just what we did. So they're fairly well equal, just 2 different builds. So what we ought to do is start up what I feel is in order. We're going to have a hard time starting one of these, and I know it because this is a video thing. That's the way it works. What do we do? Start this up?
Let's do her.
Let's do her. Will it run?
Hopefully.
Yeah. They'll give you fits on video. It'll start like a dream any other time. I love how that runs for me. What are we at?
So the peak frequency that I could see, and if you guys have to watch it back in slow-mo, you can see that thing jumping way over, is about 19,121 hertz. We're not worried about the decibels too much.
Is that
just the
megahertz
frequency.
or hertz? That's megahertz.
Kilohertz.
Kilohertz?
Yeah, 19 kilohertz.
A kilohertz. Must mean it's killer.
Kilohertz your ears.
Okay, now let's try to get...
So that one's 19,121 at your peak RPM, or as much high as RPM as you
Okay, let's see about this one. This is Kyle's. What did we get there?
Okay, we are at, right now, that one at that peak, 2,972.
We were at what with the other one, with the stock muffler?
19,000.
Okay, we have extremely high frequency with the stock muffler that's been opened up with a pipe.
Let me show them that a little closer here.
Yeah.
You can see the peak wave, that red line is about where I put my marker. Okay, and that's 2,972 hertz.
Okay, so the one with the pipe we designed is canceling everything high frequency, and that's a normal male speaking voice, the sound is.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, I recorded Eric talking, and while he was talking, I did the same thing, and he was right there at 2,900 hertz. So normal human speaking voice.
20,000. That's real high frequency.
Remember, we're talking frequency, not decibel.
Not decibels. 20,000 is high.
Really high. That's ear damaging.
That's why stock saws, they need hearing protection. These should too, because their decibels are up. But the frequency is low. It's a lot lower, which means we're canceling that high frequency sound wave.
The faster your eardrums vibrate, the worse it is on them. You know what I mean? That's basically what the whole deal is.
So we are canceling all that freaking high frequency, and we're getting none but low frequency out of this design muffler. We're doing this, and I'll tell you why. We're building mufflers. We got some prototype stuff. We've been with Buck and Billy, one-on-one, quietly experimenting. We're getting Buckin's ideas, and we're putting them to freaking use. You're going to see some different stuff on this channel here in the next month or so. Watch. Okay. Now, we got one. And
so that was 2,900. So 19,000 and 2,900 was the last one.
Okay, so what we're going to do, this is the junkyard dog. Now, from experience with this, I'm going to put my hair protection on, because I'm just warning you, if you're on a good sound system on your TV, you better be turning that down. That's all I'm going to tell you.
A lot of decibels.
When it starts. What'd you get on that?
Okay, so our peak here 1,615.
What? 1,000?
No, 1,600. See the peak right there?
Okay, show them all this.
So there, on that red line, our peak is right there. This here is just idle. When he wicked it up.
Okay, so show them the yellow graph because that's what's important.
Well, that's real time.
Yeah. Okay, so what are we getting out of this data? Compared to Kyle saw, what's the difference? He was at 5,000.
No, he was 2,900.
He was at 2,900. And this one's what?
1,600.
1,600.
So it cancels even more of the high-end frequency.
But the decibels are double from Kyle saw to this
Definitely
one.
is.
This one, they're twice as many decibels.
Yeah.
The true sound level is twice as high. Interestingly enough, Kyle's is twice as high as the stock muffler opened up. Isn't that interesting? This is loud. Okay, let's try something. Let's start all of them.
Okay. I wonder if you could find a way to play a little song with those, you know?
You know, if we get enough, we get a Mac or two and a Pioneer or two and a few home lights and big, small saws. We'll do jingle bells. What do you think? Yeah. Okay. We're learning. Oh, my goodness sakes, Kyle. Your pipe turned it on my freaking junkyard dog. Look at that bark. It turned it on it. Oh, my goodness. This stuff is fun. But it's real data for us, too. It really is. Because once you know where your muffler is, we're going to be able to kind of figure out the horsepower at some point by how the frequency, decibels, all that. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, junkyard dog it's got twice the horsepower as Kyle's true logging saw. But Kyle's true logging saw has got the same horsepower as this saw, which is going to be my favorite logging saw because it's quieter. I don't want to be stuck with too dang much noise logging because it already will jangle your nerves as it is. I wish I had a quieter muffler for this one. Okay, now to bring you up to speed. Okay, Kyle saw. My original test saw, that's Husqvarna. Let me get this other one back on the bench. I got so darn many of them here going. We've managed to do these 3 saws in a week. Believe it or not. This one, a scrappy old looking girl, but we don't care because that's a test saw. It's functional. Now, this is stage 1 of this build. We have 4 more stages to go through, okay? We are already double what I like seeing, or at least nearly double the horsepower that I want to see in a logging saw. So all of a sudden this puts this more into a useful play saw that I don't want to run all the time, but way hotter than a normal build for a logging saw. And no, don't even ask. I'm not building this build for you guys because these things will pop right here on the bench, not even running. They can break. This will end up being an example of what not to do with a chainsaw, I'm going to tell you. But I'm going to prove a point with it, how far you can go. You can do a lot of things with these saws and never frickin' do port work. Just get things matched up. Start matching them cases and stuff. But that's not for the lighthearted. Remember I told you that. You pack your lunch, you start that. You make sure you got it right on the money when you start. You've seen that video. I don't do that. It's not necessary for to build logging saws that are quite warm. It's not. Kyle has got the perfect logging saw in my book. The perfect one. Probably 15% more, 20% more horsepower maybe, but more like 15% more. That's just enough. After running these saws for years, it's just enough for a 70cc saw class to really feel like a performer in the wood. You're not waiting on it in the board cut. You get a dangerous tree, you'll grab that saw because that cuts faster. But it's not trying to eat you alive. Like Junkyard Dog is one of them that when you pull the trigger, you better be pointed it towards something. It's like letting a pissed off pit bull off the leash and the neighbor's poodle's outside barking at it. Yeah, bad analogy, I know, but that's the way it is. I'm going to have to keep Junkyard Dog off the side. I'm going to put on a big chain. I can't risk letting that saw get loose. I can't. I'm just not going to do it. We got old Dave up here. Now, Dave is actually in this house. That's the one to compare to if you're looking for absolute end of story. That's a good example of absolute end of story. It's going to be interesting to see. Now, that's a good logging saw. That isn't over the top in any direction. It's just a 100cc saw. But it's a good one. Good port work. Way too much compression, but good port work. We can take these 70cc saws and make them run down them 394s and 395s that are stock. The problem is, 394s and 395s, once you get your pencil grinder out and you know anything at all about porting, you all of a sudden send that over the top. Yeah, you ain't chasing that down. You can't. It ain't going to work. Kyle, buddy, it was a pleasure talking to you on the phone this morning. It was an absolute pleasure building a saw for you. I'm really happy to have that be sent to you. Probably Thursday or Friday I'll send that out. I'd like to run that a couple more times. But his is a great example. That junkyard saw, we're still breaking it in, so we're holding that in around 16,000, 16,200, something like that. But at some point, you're going to see that go 18,000, 19,000. Okay? I don't want to go more than that, but I'll go 18,000, 19,000 with it. Should put it about 15,000 in the cut when we get to that point. But that's not going to be on regular gas. That's going to be on alcohol. Maybe a little nitromethane. What do you think? And I know one thing's going to have to happen. One of these freaky, you can tell, listen to Junkyard Dog, that ain't even in the same class. We're going to have to, what do you think? Bucking likes hot saws. What if we go as far as we dare and still be able to run one on pump gas and send one to him? What'd you think of that? That'll change his little world, won't it? Yep, he'll be slinging some chips then. Bucking. I think I'm going to do that this winter. It ain't going to be anytime soon. I got other saws to build. I want you to have one of these good 372s, buddy. And I can't wait to see it on your channel. I got a charge the other day when he put them two 266s side by side. The one I built for Bucking himself and the one I built for Hogan. The Hogan's had a problem. We was having trouble with air leaks. Remember that? In intake, but before that we had a cylinder flaking and it was just dropping down on power, but we fixed her up. You know, that's why I like doing business with Ryan at Wolf Creek. I picked that phone up. I says, Ryan, old buddy, I says, this cylinder, which was a highway, I says, is flaking. I mean, big chunks of the cylinder liners coming out, you know, the Nickel. No problem, Harvey. I'll send you another one right out. Okay. I says, He says, it's on the house. He says, I'll take care. He does that. That's Ryan. He tells you the straight goods. You call him and you want to know exactly what's what, he'll tell you straight out. He's an honest man. And he'll take care of you, I promise you. Ryan at Wolf Creek Saw Shop. Great news. Okay, Tin Man. You intrigued me, buddy. Tin Man's channel is growing like a weed. But he's going to have flowers on this weed that are beautiful. I'm watching this guy with these freaking home lights. I don't touch home lights, you know. They're red. I don't want them around. No, I'll do a home light. I'm going to do one. I'm going to, at some point, have a home light here, and I want to do one. But I'm going to tell you what. I'm proud of Tin Man for one reason. He ain't afraid to break a few eggs. He is going to have them home lights figured out, cooking. He talks to me on WhatsApp on a daily basis, just like a lot of other guys do. And being a saw builder, it's fun to talk to another builder. And he asks questions, I ask questions. We share what we've learned about this class of saw or that class. We're all not going to build this one particular saw. That'd be stupid. In fact, I probably won't build a lot of 372s this winter on the channel because we've showed them. We've wore these out. We've done so many of them. We wore it out. Well, actually, we come to new ground on that junkyard saw, huh? Yeah, I know what you're going to say. That's friggin' intense. Buddy, if you were here in this shop and you lit these other two saws up, the minute you light that junkyard dog, you instantly know you better run for the door. Yep, because if that thing gets loose, you just know. That's, how intense is that one?
You don't want to be in, you want to get out the door.
The other ones don't bother you, do you?
No, it doesn't.
No other saws we build in here.
Even though it's at a lower frequency because of your new muffler design there, it's still double the decibels, and that's what will get you on that one.
Oh.
Usually it's the frequency that bothers you, not the decibels.
There just ain't no end to saw there. And that's stage 1 out of, I got 4 more. I'm going to go to, we might stop at 4. I think stage 5's nitrous. No, I'm not doing it. Maybe.
I'm maybe not doing it.
That'll blow it up.
Yeah.
You know what?
It'd be a fun 4 seconds, though, wouldn't
it? You know what? It wouldn't. If I figured out how to see, that'd be a dry system. If we put a wet system in that,
yeah.
So I'm putting fuel and nitrous in that. Yeah, that wouldn't blow that up. We'll look into it. I don't want to be dragging a freaking cart around with a nitrous tank.
Put it on your back.
Yeah, backpack nitrous. Yeah, over here's the alcohol. We're going to do nitromethane on one side and freaking nitrous on the other and have all these lines. And right next to it's your freaking coffin when something goes to hell. You know, I'm just telling you, that's the way that stuff rolls. This is a little bit of a scary saw.
That one's intense.
Not... Kyle saw turd.
That's not a burn. It's just oil, by the way.
Yeah, look what Kyle saw. It pooped on it.
What a dirty saw.
Oh, man.
The old junkyard dog.
It comes off. Goodness sakes. You know what's funny about certain saw builds? Have you noticed this with the bikes even that are hot and the saws that are real hot? On just regular non-alcohol pump gas, the hot ones smell like they got racing fuel in them.
It's more complete combustion, less aldehydes.
Is that what it is?
Coming out, yeah.
He knows the shit.
I have to for work. That's literally what it is.
Aldehydes.
Aldehydes, yeah. That's what you smell when you have incomplete combustion on an oven or anything like that. You walk in and you get this pungent odor and your eyes start leaking. It's aldehydes. Incomplete combustion.
So
and I have seen it on these saws. Some of them, you don't have that burning eye thing. Other ones, it gets you real bad. Incomplete combustion is what causes that.
So what you're saying is we designed a bigger, better burner with that...
yeah, it's burning more of the hydrocarbons.
With that junkyard dog.
Yep.
We don't need Cadillac converters. We need hotter motors. Well, why didn't somebody think of that years ago, for Christ's sakes?
Tell the EPA that. We'll send them a letter.
Okay. when I was in the military, and those of you in the military know, you got an on-post workstation where you can go in, rent tools, rent a bay for the day. You and your buddy can change your exhaust, do whatever, work on your car, change your motor, don't they?
Yeah, I was there too.
And that's nice. I think that's wonderful. I'm glad for that.
It's free.
Now, obviously, I was in the early 80s, and they was coming out with putting catalytic converters on cars, and fuel injection and stuff was getting known. Well, they had this team come in and they had this sniffer deal that checked all your emissions. Now, I was driving a 66 GTO with a 428. Actually had Buddy Baker, 1964 Buddy Baker 421 NASCAR heads. A set of his heads on that motor. Okay, and we had Urson H1 RH2 cam in that. You can look that up if you can find them numbers. And 3 deuces, 4-speed. So they got this little small Chevy in there, and they're doing this block construction. My GTO is parked in the bay right next to it, and they're checking and they're showing us how to use these machines, showing instructors how to check for your emissions data. So they put on this thing up an exhaust pipe, and this little 4-banger car, you know. I think it was a Firehawks, actually, what I think it was. And Skyhawk, whatever the heck it was. Just one of them little GMs, little crappers you throw in your trunk and forget it, if you got a real car. Well, anyways, he says, now that we did that, he says, sir, he says, you're the one with the GTO. I said, yeah. He said, would you mind pulling that thing over here? He said, what do you got in that for motor? And I told him, same thing I just told you. He said, okay, this is going to be a perfect example. He says, no catalytic converter, no emissions. I said, I got an EGR valve. He says, exhaust gas recirculation don't count. He said, that's just a pre-runner. It's just so vapors, you know. I got the vapors, buddy. So he kind of offended me a little bit, knocking my poor GTO. So he says, okay, start it up, get her warmed up, got to be operating temperature, did that. Everybody run around, they love the sound of that GTO. And GTOs actually were slow coming out of the factory. But this one wasn't slow. It was running good. We run 1170s in a quarter with that as a street car with 308 gears. So I just want you to know that. Which was good for one of them. They're a heavy old boat. So he gets up to operating temperature, and he goes ahead and puts that sniffer up the exhaust pipe, and he's checking it idling, and he's retrying. Oh, it's got to be recalculated. He's doing okay, bring that up off. Try to want it at 2,500 RPM. So I did that. He says, that represents about road speed for you? I says, yeah, about 60 mile an hour. At 55, 60, somewhere in there. He watched it, and he's watching that graph, and he says, something right here. He said, go ahead and floor it. Well, I said, I can't. I says, the damn thing, I'll blow this up sitting here just for you. He will goose it and get them barrels all that 6-pack going. So I did. And, boy, that made a machine go wonky for just a second. And that was that. You know what's funny? He said, well, this isn't right. He said, what do you think your horsepower is? Honestly, probably 4 1/4 of real horsepower. You'd like to think you had 600, but you didn't, trust me. You don't got what you think you got. You think you got a hot street car, take that drag strip, and you're going to get your heart broke. That's what tells you. And I had already done that, so I knew it was a good street car. He said, well, this is an anomaly, but he says, for some ungodly reason, this GTO is getting better emissions than this brand new GM product with a 4-cylinder. I had a 428. He had a freaking little 2-liter, and I was getting better emissions. He says, not possible. I had an efficient, what'd you call that again, formaldehydes? Aldehydes.
Complete combustion.
We got no stinking aldehydes out of that.
That's hilarious.
Okay, we're learning, guys. Okay. I'm excited about these mufflers we're doing. I'm excited about everything coming up now, and I hope you are too. Okay, goodbye.